Howdy, howdy. Let's see. Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. How do you have a backyard? A background. I want a background.
Just go to the configuration. See, that one doesn't, it's not that one. It's the other one. It's not in the banners. I think you have to do it in your profile. I don't remember. Let's see. Create logo. No. Yeah, I'm sorry. I did.
All
Uh,
right. I'll be right back.
sure, no problem. Here we go. Um, hello, hello. Can anybody out there? Somebody want to post something in the comments here? See, it says live. So is this thing recording? Yeah, it is recording while we're going live, and I don't see any viewers. So we are on Facebook and we are on YouTube. So let's see who's going to connect and who can't connect. Let's see. Let me go ahead and where is it? Hello, hello. Anybody joining? Any viewers out there? Let's see if I can post something here in the chat. Looks like there's chatting there, right? I'll go see if I can see something. Hello, hello. All right, you're back.
I don't know what happened. It didn't want me to. I accidentally hit a button that removed my screen and my mic, and it wouldn't let me add it back. It was very rude. Very rude.
Well, we had like 8 or 9 people signed up. I think I was twice, so that's 7 plus you. I don't know. Did you register?
Yeah, I registered. I always register. Why not?
Okay, so then uh, I'm gonna go check and see what this thing looks like from the outside. I guess maybe if I go to YouTube and do a search on DFW Hugs, because I didn't see when we did our original recording. I didn't see the the comments pop up.
Gotcha.
So I'm wondering why. It says we're live. If I
Yep.
when I look at it from out here, but I don't think I can click on that while I'm logged into here, right? So
I don't know. I'm
let me,
attempting.
huh?
I'm attempting to.
Because I was thinking about maybe. Okay, we yeah, now, yeah, we should have an echo now, right?
Yeah. So we're live. That link works.
Oh, okay. No, I ended up picking up one of the recordings, but I'm not seeing the live. It says intro to wide Terraform session here. It says two are watching. It says we started 5 minutes ago.
We did.
But it also has, oh, okay. So you put the Discord there on the bottom on the banner.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. Because I noticed that's different. And then let me type something over here in the chat and see if you see it. Howdy from home. Did that pop up over there? I don't see it popping up
I
over
don't see it in
here.
the chat.
There it is. Just a delay. So here in the StreamYard, though, the chat doesn't allow you to. I think you can do smiley faces and stuff, right? Whereas over here, we can't, right? Okay, so the Twitter feed for some reason didn't work. So we're not on Twitter, right? Because I see it kind of grayed out. Maybe because we don't have enough followers yet, so it won't let us. Since you are live.
I do see something on Twitter. It shows us live. So.
Oh, okay, so you're seeing us on Twitter. So we're on. We should be on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Okay, Shannon. Hi. Hi, Shan. Can you hear us well? So, okay, so we have.
Fantastic.
All right, so we have now 4 people. The only thing is, I don't know who. If they don't say hi.
It's all right.
So, okay, Ken, welcome. Thanks for joining. The Twitter account name would be at DFW Hugs, right? At DFW Hugs. GS. So this is our first time doing it, so please bear with us as we have these growing pains. But what I did was I bought this thing called StreamYard, this service, and we are broadcasting live to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll give it a couple more minutes. So Ken, you want to give us a little background on where you're from? What do you do? Welcome. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, we also put in the Discord down here. So please feel free to. I don't know if you can copy that, but if you can, feel free to join our Discord.
Yeah. You want to copy and put it in the chat? That way they can just click on it.
Sure.
So yeah, so if you haven't joined the Discord already, please join the Discord because when we're doing these sessions, of course we'll do our monthly session. Our meetups will be on the third Thursday of every month moving forward, and we're trying to do in-person events and these virtual events. So since we did a movie event earlier in the month, uh, we still decided to go ahead and have this on the third Thursday. But uh, one thing that I was chatting with Nathan and with the HashiCorp guys was trying to do some hands-on labs or some demos because they had some demos they were going to show at the movie theater that we didn't see.
Yeah.
Uh, but Nathan and I would also like to do something from scratch. So basically, bring up a blank screen and start doing stuff. Isn't that right, Nathan?
Basically, yeah, that's what, in my opinion, I feel like being in IT, I feel like I've learned more trying to make things work rather than just watching someone else just copy and paste a bunch of stuff. Because in IT, I think the biggest problem is just how does it break, right? Because everything's great when it works perfectly and never breaks. But then when it breaks, that's when you start Googling, you start reading blogs, you start reaching out and trying to get support. That's when, the majority of our time is really spent in those areas, it feels like. So I feel like doing it this way just kind of like shows really the power behind the tool and also a little bit more about like what you can do with it. And kind of, if anything out of this, I just love to have people just play around with it more, really.
Yeah, cool, cool.
Yeah.
So the HashiCorp guys did send me over that one slider, but for some reason, from the life of me, I downloaded it and I'm not finding it. So I need to go over to that email and so I'll bring that up. But in the interim, while I'm bringing this up, like I said, we're trying to do these every month on the third Thursday of the month, and we're trying to do some live person events. I mean, do everybody feel comfortable with live person events, or you're not comfortable yet? You want to put that in the chat for us right now? Let's see, because I don't know how to use that. What is it called? The survey thing yet? Do you know how to use the survey thing? We're still learning, guys. This
Depends.
is so. Uh, I'm just gonna open it right here where Tim brought it. Right. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here real quick so we can see kind of sort of where we're at and our status on our journey here on getting started. It says we have 312 members, but uh, we'd like to get more people involved and more active. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely.
so let's see, where's the share? Okay, I'm going to try to do the share thing here. So share screen, share Chrome tab, select tab. Okay, share. All right, so you can see my screen now, right? Is that too small? Shall I just make it one instead of two? Make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah, make it bigger and then scroll up. There you go. Because the
Uh,
giveaway is gone
okay.
at this point. Don't get excited, folks.
Yeah, the giveaways is a tease. This is left over from the movie event we had earlier in the month.
Yep.
But anyhow, of course, we found the meetup, and we have 312 members. Like I said, we're trying to do these every third Thursday of every month, and we want to do at least, I guess, a quarterly in-person event. That's what they have here, but
Yep.
if we can do more, we will try. If we can't, we can't. But we're planning on like doing these at like Pedicolis. I don't know if y'all have any suggestions of where y'all would like to meet up. We could do it there. Also, we were thinking about maybe like 1050, the barbecue place on North Central Expressway. Those are some things that we were thinking about. Let me. Oh, there's Brandon. All right, Brandon joined. Welcome, Brandon. So you're comfortable with in person. Let's see, what does Ken say? Ken says, on the way, we learn some. Yep, we learn from our mistakes. That's definitely for sure. And Chan says she's good with in-person events. So I guess as long as you had your shots, and if you want to wear a mask, go ahead and wear one. If you don't want to wear one, don't wear one. But it's hard to drink a beer with a mask. That's all. I'm just saying.
Life lessons with Wences for sure.
And actually, this photo over here is a photo from our December meetup. We did do an in-person meetup in December at a nice restaurant, and we did have a sponsor. Uh, but with that said, I guess we can move on to the illustrious Nate. He's going to tell us a little bit about Terraform and why Terraform, and I'll stop sharing.
All right, let me share my screen here, and we'll get going here.
But yeah, guys, just make sure that you try to join the Discord. So when we're not broadcasting, you can ping us on the Discord. There's chat and there's a voice chat. You know, Shannon and I actually use the water cooler chat, but you can join us anytime you want as well. All right.
All right, so let me get my slides up here and we can get kicked off. Anything more you wanted to bring up, Wences?
Nope.
All right, cool. Cool. Okay, so really, well, this talk is really supposed to be, it's just kind of like an introduction into Terraform, kind of like the why and how. Why is Terraform such a big deal? How do we get it more into what we do on a day-to-day life? How can I, better equip people that want to learn how to use it and use it? And this is just kind of like an introduction. So the goal here is really to get people into a place where they feel comfortable utilizing it, feel comfortable trying to play around with it and then the different providers, and then moving forward. And then again, if you get into our Discord, we have people that are very well versed in Terraform, even more than myself in the Discord, that can help with any problems that you're running into, even if you're running with it in a lab just for learning purposes. But Winston keeps telling me the illustrious Nathan, but a little bit about who I am. I am I've been working in IT just for about 10 years. IT is my second career. I've done a lot of things in the DevOps practices and automation, mainly because it just made my life a lot easier. I had a lot of physical issues that didn't make rows really easy for me to deal. So like how to tasks and run books weren't really easy for me to do for some reason. But everything got better when I learned how to use code, how to script, and how to do a lot of things in those areas. I'm currently working at a value-add reseller called Sterling Computers, doing a lot of that infrastructure as code stuff over there, as well as different things. But when we are digging through Terraform, let's see, something just happened. There we go. Okay. Cool. Looks like we're back. Just make sure that shows up. Okay. All right. Awesome. So again, yeah, today is just kind of like what it is, why it's so big. And then really the fun part is, we're going to be doing a lot of praying to the live demo gods that we get through the live working session easily. If we don't, then that's fine too. We'll work through it together, and then, keep the comments coming about, what you've done. If you want to talk about like things that you've done with Terraform, that's great. This is very collaborative, and we want it to be, this enjoyable, interactive discussion about what Terraform is, what infrastructure as code has done, and things like that, right? Because at the end of the day, This is stuff that's just supposed to help us do our jobs better. It's not supposed to change us. We're not like, I don't think that tech for tech's sake is worth anything, but tech to make our jobs easier is definitely worth the investment. So anyway, that's enough of soapboxing. So what is HashiCorp Terraform? Well, if you haven't heard of it before, Terraform is basically an infrastructure as code platform that can be used against the public clouds as well as on-premise. It enables multiple providers to utilize the solution. And what I mean by that is that you can use Terraform to command a vSphere environment. You can use it to command a cloud environment like AWS, Azure, GCP, etc. There's also providers for like Cisco, and we'll get into more about what those providers are. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like what IT is, which is data from one location going to another location, right? With Terraform, I know that makes it very generic, but with Terraform, it's a payload of information going to an API, and that API is going to say, okay, based off of this payload of information, I'm going to build XYZ. But then after it builds XYZ, it's also going to output information that Terraform is then going to pull back and say, okay, now I've got information about what it actually built. So what this allows you to do is to write, plan, and apply your infrastructure as you request and need. So you can actually use it for like whatever services you're looking at deploying and kind of grow from there iteratively. The final piece of this is state. Love it or hate it, Terraform utilizes a state file that says this is what everything, this is everything that you have deployed within Terraform, and this is what I know is out there. So Terraform kind of has this memory of what is actually deployed, and then it will go out and check what is out there. This kind of helps as you continue in that iterative process of adding new things continually, because it'll go out and say, what do I need to build and what do I not need to build? If you've ever used automation solutions such as like PowerShell connecting to different machines and things like that, then you'll know that it's more of a imperative type of language that just basically builds it repeatedly. So if I say build this machine, it'll build it. And then if I repeat that, it'll just try to build it again. It's not going to call back or say what's out there. It's just going to try to keep building the same thing, right? And that can be a little bit of a hazard to try to deal with. So HashiCorp's able to say, okay, Terraform's actually able to say this is already built, so I don't have to try to rebuild it. It's already there, so I'm cool with it. It also has the ability to say, well, this is kind of like that, but there's a couple of differences. So what I'm going to do is put a modify on these differences. I'm going to modify it. So it has different versatility within that state to say whether it needs to be rebuilt, whether it needs to be modified, or whether it's fine, don't touch it. So let's talk about providers. So Terraform has over 2,000 providers currently. And as I mentioned before, you know, with these providers, you're able to build things in VMware vSphere, AWS, Azure. I mean, I took just a screenshot and I maximized zooming out in order to grab as many of these providers as I could on this screen. But you can see the main big ones: AWS, Azure, GCP. Kubernetes is a big one that's up and coming that you can kind of use for deploying your pods and manifests like that if you're not used to using YAML and playing around within VI to do your Kubernetes deployments. So there's areas in there as well. You can also see that there's a number of HashiCorp solutions in there. For instance, you know, you see Vault, Console, Boundary. I think it's all well and good to move into infrastructure as code, but it's even better when you do that in a secure way. And, you know, combining Terraform within Vault, allowing you to do things like call to Vault to create credentials to build things in AWS. It goes and builds things in AWS, and then it deletes the credentials that it just used, kind of mitigating man-in-the-middle attacks and things like that. This isn't a Vault talk. This is, you know, Terraform, but that's just kind of like one of the ways that it can do the things that it does. Let's say you wanted to build something in vSphere and then have like console do it via service mesh, right? You could build it in vSphere and then call to console to create the resources necessary to create a mesh for those applications, right? So you could do some things like that as well. But in terms of the providers, getting back to the slide, there's three major providers. The first one is the official providers, and these are basically managed and controlled by HashiCorp. Now, HashiCorp will take providers that are also verified and take them into themselves. A verified provider, excuse me, I have a hair somewhere. A verified provider is basically a provider that is written and maintained by a third party. A good example for this, especially coming from where I come from, which is a VMware environment, is the VMware vSphere provider. So that provider was originally maintained and managed by VMware, and then HashiCorp decided to take that provider and maintain and manage it themselves. And so now if you look right above the verified provider, you see VMware vSphere with that wonderful little ribbon on it, which tells you that HashiCorp now manages and maintains it. So that's official providers, that's verified providers. Then you have community providers. Now, community providers are kind of a little bit like a wild, wild west. I liken them to, I have a need, I build a provider within Terraform to do something, and then I post it and then release it for the world to see. And then if the wonderful dons at HashiCorp decided to bring it in, they bring it in as a community-based provider. It's something that can be utilized for the version that you are looking for. And if you need to use it in that version, that's great. But what I always use with community providers is just dictate that specific version of that provider, and as soon as it's there, as long as it's there. And sometimes those providers will go away. Just be aware of it, and it's just one of those things that you have to deal with community providers. So why Terraform, though? There's a lot of good reasons that we've just kind of discussed, but why? The different use cases that Terraform is really used for is that ability to use infrastructure in the most disposable way. What I mean by that is we always think of infrastructure as a pet's cattle methodology, right? We have infrastructure that is our pets. We love it. We pet it. We feed it. We make sure that it's happy and make sure that it doesn't have any problems, right? That's a pet methodology for taking care of your infrastructure. The cattle methodology is that it is just there. You have a fleet of it. If it dies, it dies. You just have a ton of these things and you don't care how long they're around. I don't really see Terraform as a pet's cattle. It's more like a pet's napkin methodology. And I'll tell you what I mean. If you've ever gone to like a barbecue or a block party where there's like a bunch of barbecue stuff, like sauce is prevalent. And I think of that napkin that you grab, that thin, horrible, tiny napkin that you're just thinking, how is this going to wipe my face of all the barbecue sauce that's on it, right? And so you use it to take all of the stuff off of your face, and then you throw it away and it's gone, right? That's the type of thinking that we have when we go into this type of infrastructure as code. It's not there for a long-term period. You don't want it to be. You want it to be this solution that can be destroyed and rebuilt in a couple of minutes, depending on how long you want to build your Terraform, how long you have into your Terraform manifest. So that's that methodology of, hey, someone ransomwared our environment. Okay, click button, everything's destroyed. Click button, everything's rebuilt, right? And have that type of capability. So that's kind of one use case. Another use case for Terraform is that agnosticism from the platform, right? I can build something in AWS, I can build something in vSphere, I can build something in GCP, and I don't have to create multiple different languages or have multiple different infrastructure to support it. I just have to have multiple different folders within a folder system, and then just go into those individual folders and say, okay, build this here, go into this next folder, okay, build this here. And then it just calls out to the individual providers that it needs and then builds that infrastructure. Moving from something like Terraform on your machine into like source code, then you're able to provide all these things through individual repos, right? And that way you're able to say, okay, this repo is specific for GCP, this repo is specific for vSphere, and it has that type of format and that type of methodology, and that keeps them separate, but it's still the same block-based code that you're able to kind of see and read that you're used to, because it's still, at the end of the day, it's still Terraform. And it still follows kind of basically the same rules. There are only some adjustments that you'll need to deal with when dealing with the individual resources. You heard me mention source code. So along with source code comes versioning. Think of it in terms of, I'll give you a story as an example. I was once asked, how many virtual machines do we have that has X on it, right? Say an application or SQL or whatever, right? You can run a number of different commands in order to find, like, for instance, the machines that have SQL in the name or something along those lines, or you can try to write like a crawler script in order to find if the binaries are there. But at the end of the day, it's still very difficult to try to exactly quantify what has X on it sometimes. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes. Within Terraform, because it has that state, you have this constant artifact of what is actually deployed. And if you are using Terraform for the extent of your environment, then you can say, these are everything that is out there. This is what is deployed on them. This is how it's built, right? So it gives you that versatility in reporting to say, this is what we have. This is what we can see from what you need in terms of what is X out there on the environment. There's a community of cool people like me that love Terraform and all the different softwares that you can add to it and provide with it. Outside of myself, there's a whole community on Twitter. There's a whole community on Reddit. There's a whole community within the GitHub of HashiCorp Terraform to have like bug fixes and things like that. It's just a lot of great people to talk to when you have a problem with Terraform or are trying to do it. And there always seems to be someone willing to help you do things better, right? And the final thing is that Terraform is always going to ask you if you're sure. This kind of seems like a very silly thing to bring up, but it's, if you've used computers or a number of different things, you kind of learn to appreciate that are you sure window that pops up before you say yes, right? If you're like me, the more you deal with this, you start kind of really looking into the state, really looking into what it's saying it's going to do before you click yes. And it gives you that ability to see what is going to be rebuilt, what's going to be modified, what's not. And it helps you kind of verify outages, right? So if I'm making a modification to my Terraform script and it's going to destroy something in order to rebuild it, that's an outage, right? For that period of time that you're rebuilding it, it's technically an outage. And so you need to kind of verify those types of questions before you say yes to those things. And finally, it's pretty cool. I dig it. And hearing about it in all these different things, it doesn't really do it justice. It is really cool. So definitely take a look at it yourself. Learn.hashicorp.com/Terraform is a really good place to start. You can start with multiple different providers and get started there. We're going to dig through it and kind of see where we can get to in this particular instance. So let's kind of hop in and see where we can go from here. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is hop into an IDE. I'm using VS Code because, in my opinion, it's one of my favorites. It's the easiest one to use. And it has multiple different integrations that you can use, including Terraform, extensions, including Terraform extensions, AWS CLI, and other things. You can see that I have the Terraform extension already installed. You can see that I've got a couple of different things set up, including a folder structure so that we can start with this demonstration. And then I also, outside of this, I've also created an account in AWS. So if I go to IAM and check my identity management, You can see I have a user. That user is a Terraform user. That Terraform user has programmatic access into AWS so it can build and adjust resources in that area. So I already have all of that set up. I've got the secret credentials already created into an area where it should be able to pull that information. So we're ready at this point to start bringing in code. So the first thing that you're going to see is to put in something like this. And I'm going to paste this in. I'm not going to use it. This is basically a Terraform block of information. And what it does is it says, okay, I want these providers and I want these providers this particular way, right? So for instance, the source is specific to a provider and the version is specific to a version, right? This is the way of kind of making sure that you don't go off the beaten path. We've all had that moment where we do an upgrade and then all of a sudden something breaks. This kind of makes sure that you stay on a particular version before you validate that the newer versions are good and then move to a newer version. I just wanted to show that in this particular area. I'm not going to use it because, hey, I'm a user. This is my AWS environment and I've done a lot of crazy things with it before. So we're just going to start off with a provider block and we're going to use AWS. And let's see here. So we're going to start with a region and we're going to use US East 2. And we're going to say profile default. And I can already see some things happening here that brings my OCD heart, makes it cry just a little bit, a little bit of differences here and there. So I'm going to run a Terraform command, and this one is really nice for people like me. It's Terraform format. And it's just going to run against this particular, I didn't do anything. Yay. Maybe I'm still going to change it just because I just can't, folks. I can't. It has to be perfect. It has to be perfect. Oh, I know why I didn't run it because I didn't save it. By the way, if you haven't used VS Code, this little white dot up here means that it is not saved. So if I do command save, then you see that it changes, and that's why it didn't change it. So let's try that again. I'll just do this backspace. I'll save it, and then I'll do Terraform format, and we'll see that it formats it, makes it look all nice and pretty. It's one of my favorite commandlets. But before we even get started with this, we know what the provider is, and so we're just going to go ahead and run a Terraform init. What this is going to do is run an initialization of the provider that we're calling for. It creates that .terraform folder. It creates the lock.hcl file as well, and it just pulls down that provider that we're needing. You can see here that it pulled down these two things here. Installing and installed, these two lines here showing that it installed the HashiCorp AWS version 4.14.0. So great. So now we have the provider in order to start building things. So let's just build something. Let me move some stuff around. By the way, if there are any questions, if I'm missing anything, feel free to reach out or holler at me. When's this?
Yeah, I'm been asking for them, but nobody's asked yet. So I know that Shan has been trying to get started with this. So hopefully this helps you, Shan, with your journey.
Yeah. So you'll hear me mention blocks. That's really kind of an easy way to consume Terraform is by blocks. So for instance, this first section of code, I would call it a provider block because that's what I'm actually indicating should be there. Like, so here is the provider's AWS in this region, but this is the information here. Then I'm going to create a resource. Now in resources, you have multiple different solutions here. So I can do AWS underscore, let's build a VPC. And then you can see I got a name here. I'm going to change that name to, let's do hugs. Let's just say hugs across the board. Let's do lowercase just because it makes my life easier. And then let's see, a VPC. I'm going to use a cider block. There we go. And let's just do the old 10.0.0/16. And then let's see here. Let's do instant tenancy. Let's just do default. And let's see about a tag here. Tags equals, let's just do name equals hugs. Now, here's something that we can do. Instead of saying name equal hugs, we can use something called a variable. So if I go up here, back up to provider, and hit enter and do variable, and I just say name, I'm going to say type equals string. I can go down here and I can say var.name. And the reason for that is it is calling up to this variable up here and it's saying what this variable is. Now, I didn't dictate what that variable would be. So again, pray to the live demo gods. I just saved it. So if we do a Terraform form, let's do a plan first. See if we got this running. Yeah, so you see var name. It's going to pop up and it's going to ask me a value because I didn't dictate it inside of the manifest. What this does is it creates a dynamism within Terraform so that I can be able to say what type of name that I want and say, you know, I'm just going to say hugs, right? And so it's going to run the plan and it's going to say, okay, the name for this var name is hugs, and it's going to check the VPC for that name. And it gave me an error. And the error is in the provider. Failed to get shared config profile default. You know what? Let's just remove this. See if that'll fix it. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. And that's what we should see, right? A lot of these plus signs saying, I'm going to build this stuff for you, right? And here we see, you know, the AWS VPC is going to be here. Its name is, you know, hugs is right here what this is. And I believe if we scroll down here, name hugs, there it is. So you can see that the name is actually populated there. So I see a question about finding the AWS VPC. It depends on what type of VPC that you want to do. You can use a data block in order to try to pull it in. And there's also another function to use for the default VPC. If I go over here and look at VPC, I believe there should show kind of what that looks like. Where are you, VPC? Yeah, so here's some example usage of pulling in the default VPC. And you can use some, oh, that's funny, I use a force destroy optional when pulling in the default VPC. Really, the goal that you would want is to build fresh, and that's kind of how Terraform really runs, is it wants you to build everything from the ground up because you can pull data and use it across everything. And so pulling in something that's already deployed, that's where Terraform starts getting a little bit more difficult, especially if you have something that is already built. You can do an import function. That's another way of pulling in a VPC, is using a Terraform import. What that basically is you basically define the VPC and then you import it into your state file. And by doing it, then you have attributes that you can call and interpret on top of it and grow from there. So that's one other way of utilizing a VPC. But you'll see I have, you know, multiple things here that I'm going to be kind of referencing back to. This is really kind of why I love Terraform, is it has solutions like this where I can easily kind of scroll through, find what I want, and then have that as a starting point for utilizing Terraform and then continually grow from there, right? So if I were to do a Terraform, I'm going to write Terraform so many different times, apply. So it's going to run a plan every time I say to do an apply, which is good. And it's that same kind of value of, are you sure? And actually, you know what? I'm going to say no here because I don't want to have to keep on putting in the name. So we're just going to put hugs there, and we're going to remove this name here. and we're going to save it. And now we're going to run an apply. And we're going to say yes. And now we're going to see Terraform doing some stuff. And we can see it really didn't take that long at all. It just went ahead and said, okay, done. And if we go over to our AWS console, let's go to VPC. And we're going to go to US East 2, which is Ohio, and check our VPCs. We can see that there's 2, and there is a Hug VPC there. It's like magic. It's wonderful. I love it. But let's see what else we can do here. That's kind of that may have been a little bit too easy. Let's build another point here. And this is where I'm going to start kind of picking up because I want to be able to get to kind of the more fun stuff. Building a VPC in AWS is awesome, but it's also it can be kind of tedious. Some people don't really like having to build a lot of these things and all these different parts. But once you have all the pieces together, then it's really kind of the enjoyable part of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a subnet. I'm going to add a gateway. And I'm going to try to change a couple of things here. So I know this is Hugs. I'm just changing everything from demo to Hugs. Come on. I'm actually going to save this now because I don't want to have to go through and validate all of my data is correct. That's just burned me one too many times before. So that looks like that is there. And I'm going to add this as well. Now, one of the things that's interesting, as you can see me adding this here, is you can actually add a key pair. And that key pair can be built on top of a SSH keygen that you run locally. So this particular file right here that I'm using, or this was referred to as the file function within Terraform, is calling to a location where that file is actually on my desktop. And so I can actually refer to this and utilize it for SSHing into a machine. Let me make sure that that's there. And then that's a big one. We're going to add a security group. And this security group is going to just basically, I mean, if you're a AWS architect, you would weep. You're just like, what are you doing? You're opening up to everything. And I am, but don't do this in an enterprise environment. Do it to learn, and then, shut it down really quickly after you do it. And then the final part, which is the part that everyone forgets about, is the route table. So we're going to say Hugs. The gateway is still gateway. I'm going to say Hugs here. Let's check I got everything in here. So that's Hugs. This is Hugs. And what I'm basically doing is I'm changing this information here. So this is calling to the VPC that I am building. And that VPC name that we attributed to it is the Hugs VPC, right? And so it's calling the VPC Hugs, and it's pulling the CIDR block. And if I go back up here to the AWS VPC, you can see this is the Hugs VPC, and this is the CIDR block. So it's actually pulling in this attributive information of that object. So let me scroll back down. Where was I? So I was getting that one, got that one. Hugs, 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 Hugs. Just Hugs all around. So let's do a plan really quickly. Here we go. So we did miss one. So there's a eSource. Let's see, from blocks of type eSource are not expected here. Did you mean resource? It's possible. It's possible I meant resource. There is no eSource. How embarrassing. See, this comes back with success. Fantastic. So now if I do a Terraform apply, it's going to build all of the independent resources that's necessary to basically create your VPC and then expose it into the internet, right? So this is kind of a best practice within AWS to build a VPC instead of using the default VPC in AWS. You can lock it down as you need. It's not best practice to build it the way that I did because a lot of things are open right now. But that's fine because as soon as this is over, everything's going to be destroyed and gone. And that's the way I like my resources. You know, use it for this and then take it away. Now, let's just hop over here and just validate that we got some good stuff. Let's go over to the VPC. Let's see here. So here we have our route table. We've got, let's see, let's check our subnets. So here's our Hug subnet. What we got here? So there's a route table. There's our VPC, which is connected to for Hugs. Looks like we're doing good, doing good. Let's take a look at our security groups. And here's our allow SSH security group. So that's good too. So it looks like a lot of good things are there. And we are cooking pretty darn well at this point. So I'm going to do a clear. So what you've seen at this point is just kind of the iterative functionality of just adding more and more resources on top of each other. Everything that I've done right now is way easier because there's now a module in Terraform in order to build a VPC. And so that's kind of like the quick and easy way to build a new VPC is just to deploy a module, specify CIDR blocks, subnets, and information for the actual VPC itself. When you run Terraform init, it'll actually pull that module down, and then you can actually build a VPC in that way. Instead, if you can do it either way. If you prefer to have everything built out individually, you can definitely do that as well. But this is just kind of the way that I'm used to doing it, so I tend to just keep falling back to that. And we have used a lot of different blocks at this point, and we're going to introduce a new one here, which is a data block. So if we scroll up here, we can see that this starts as data, and it's going to call to AWS AMI, and it's going to look for Ubuntu. So I got a couple of flags here. I want to search for the most recent AMIs that are out there, and I want to filter on name, and here's a value for a name that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a 20.04. Version of Ubuntu. I'm looking for the virtualization type of HVM. I'm looking for an owner, which is this long string here, and that is canonical. Now, if you're wondering about that information, let me see if I can get into, let's just go into EC2. A lot of things, in my opinion, are a lot more helpful if you actually see where these magic numbers come from. If I go into the AMI catalog and I want to find something like, how about Ubuntu? Right, so now I can bring up this Ubuntu and I can see, okay, well, I can see that this AMI is right here, right? So I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to go to AMIs and I'm going to search public images and search that AMI. And now I have that AMI, and you can see here this information on the actual AMI image. And then if I select it, you can see the owner account that's right here. And then down here, you can see in description who is the owner, which is canonical. So all of that information is actually in AWS, and you can kind of pull it and parse it and put it into your Terraform manifest. So that gives you a little bit of an understanding of where that data comes from for that data block. So too long didn't read version. This is a really easy way, instead of having to just pull AMI images and trying to figure out how to get that AMI ID to work. You just use this as a search function, which basically goes out and calls the AMI that you need and then pulls it in. How does it pull it in? So in aspects of time, I am just going to copy this last piece, which is our instance. Everybody loves EC2 instances, right? And in our AWS instance, I'm building a box. I just like saying box. And then on that instance, it's pulling this AMI, which is data, AWS AMI, Ubuntu ID. So if you scroll back up to this data, it's data, AWS AMI, Ubuntu, and then the ID of that Ubuntu box. So it just all flows from that one location. I am associating a public ID with it, and then I'm putting in a user data file init script.tpl. If you look here, I don't have that init script. I'm just going to create one really quickly. So I'm going to click on the folder, click a new folder, and I'm going to say init script.tpl. TPL stands for template. And the script looks basically like this. I'm just copying and pasting it. And basically, this is where we're going to use the user data functionality within AWS to init that actual template to build something, to configure it, to actually add an application or a configuration on top of it, right? I can write whatever I want to here at this point because as I build it, it's going to call to this file, and that file is going to then be pushed to that machine, and that machine is then going to have that configuration. So I'm going to save both. Let's see, the only other thing, let me make sure I'm not missing it. Oh yeah, the key name. So you can see here, I'm also calling to that key pair that I'm using. Again, that key pair is local to my box, right? So I can still use that as an SSH key in order to SSH into that machine. And we'll show that pretty quickly as well. So now I'm going to do Terraform apply. And so far, so good. Fingers crossed, folks. Here we go. And we're going to kick this thing off. And so again, we're just see where it shows only one thing to add, right? That's the actual EC2 instance. So we already have everything else. We have the data that's pulling in the AMI. This is actually just building the EC2 instance and then bootstrapping it with that script. So if I go back over here and I look at our instances, make sure I'm in the right region. Okay, so we can see that there's a Terraform demo that is an instance that is running and it is initializing, right? If I select it, go to details, let's see here. Okay, so we see that there's a public IP, there's a private IP, there's all this information here about it. I can scroll over here back to our Terraform and VS Code, and I can see that that finished creating after 30 seconds. What if I didn't want to have to bounce back and forth between AWS? Wouldn't that be nice? Well, if I run Terraform state list, I can actually call to the Terraform state file, and it'll actually give me an output of the resources that I defined. And let's say I want to take a look into that instance that we built. So I'll run Terraform state show, and I'll say that resource, which is the AWS_instance box. Run that, and now it's outputting all of the attributes to that particular EC2 instance that I built. In this particular case, I'm looking for the public IP, which is right here. So that's 3.16.24.129, 3.16.24.129. Scroll back over here, 3.16.24.129. Isn't that fantastic? Let's see if my wonderful template script worked. Website by Terraform. HTML is difficult, guys. I mean, sometimes you can't just make a pretty website. Sometimes it's just got to be the way that it is. And here it's just basically creating, so I basically built an EC2 instance. I installed Apache on top of it, and then I changed the index.html into something different and basically posted that into this particular site. So that's all great, right? So now we were able to do all of that configuration. What about something else? How about we can, let's go back over here, SSH. Let's see if we can SSH into this guy. So SSH-I, and we're going to do utility.sh/hugs key, and then we're going to say Ubuntu. It's an Ubuntu box, and we're going to say the public IP. And we can see that it does want us to accept the fingerprint, which we do. And bang. So there we go. Now we are back into that EC2 VM. And now I can run whatever I want to from that VM. So a little bit of what we kind of went over today, just kind of the why, the how to get started. You can create a free AWS account if you want to. You can build, put a credit card to it if you want to build something further. You can build into your default VPC if that's what you would prefer, or build a new VPC. All of that is really powerful within, Terraform itself. But at the end of the day, I feel sad to a certain degree because I had to copy so much stuff over. But in reality, if you look through a lot of these things here, you'll see that a lot of those things are the same things that I copied over in order to create it. From this location here, right? So for instance, a lot of the things from VPC, right? So here's, let me go down here to Our internet gateway is down here. Here's a route table and route table association, right? So we can add that association to our subnet. Here's our VPC. I believe the internet gateway is somewhere. I might have gone past it, but all that to say, there's a myriad of documents and files and folders to help you along your way to learn Terraform. And more importantly than any of that, there's a Discord of friendly, happy people just waiting for your questions, because this stuff is really cool. I personally really, really love this stuff. So more than happy to share anything that we can do to help other people around. All right, Wences, how'd I do?
Awesome. Dang, you're good. You can do the happy dance now.
Everybody loves the happy dance.
Well, that was great. It was very enlightening. It taught me a thing or two, and hopefully other people enjoyed it. And so this is what we're trying to do, guys. We're trying to help everybody on their journey to Terraform, but also to HashiCorp. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Also, don't forget to do the YouTube thing, right? Got to click on the like and hit the subscribe and say, I love Nathan.
I don't know about that. I should have started off with what's up, folks? It's your boy. Smash that bell. Whatever. I don't remember what these kids say.
Yeah, see? Yeah, that's good. That's good. We'll do it on the next one. But
also comment on what you would like to see next. This is a great introduction, but what could we do next? Would you like to see, how does Vault do security? How do we get console and do service meshing? If any of that is interesting, let us know. Here, Discord, wherever. But we can definitely try to facilitate those things.
Yeah, so that's the part 2 of this conversation. Is we got 4 minutes, but first thing we want to know what you guys want as future topics. Also, if you have any ideas for in-person events, like if you want to go to barbecue, or you want to go to Petticolas, or you want us to go out to Fort Worth, because somebody lives out there in Fort Worth, right?
Cowtown, baby, come on over.
So we can go out to the stockyards. I mean, make some suggestions of where you guys would like to meet up, and we'll see if we can get a vendor to pick up the tab, and we'll go. So that's why it's really once a quarter outing we're trying to do. But if we could do them more frequently, we can find, just let us know. But let us know what do you want to listen to? What do you want to learn? I mean, the topics, the content. I mean, do you want us to do a series on doing the Terraform certification? Maybe we have a certified person here talking to us now, right? Maybe you could help us on that journey too. So there's so many things that we can do. So it just depends on what you guys are interested in. And also, if we need to go find a resource, I will go do that. Just tell us what you're looking for, what you want to do, and put it in the comments. I mean, I put, this is open discussion here, but it's kind of hard to do open discussion on YouTube. So that's why you got to make sure that you join the Discord so that we can, have these live conversations with everybody, letting us know what's going on, what you're thinking about, what you like, what you didn't like. I mean, should I go get a haircut? You guys just got to let me know. Or should I grow my beard back? What kind of beard do you like?
I personally did like the beard. What's this? I do want it back, so I'll put my vote in right there for the beard. Hashtag bring beard back.
Because then the other thing we got to do is, I guess I got to learn to put surveys in these things too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That way we can have a way to get comments from that as well.
Yeah, so you guys just let us know what you like, what you didn't like, how can we help you, and like all YouTubers, hit the bell, subscribe, the likes, put the thumbs up, all of that stuff, and we got about 1 minute left. Is there anything you want to say? I don't see any more questions in the chat here, but and I'm sorry I kind of screwed up on the invitation there because I said we were going to do this in Discord and pointed people to the water cooler. So if you got lost and you missed it because I screwed up, I'm sorry. But this is recorded now and it is on YouTube, so you can see it after the fact. And if there's stuff that you liked about what what was presented today, watch it again and then shoot us a tweet or something and let us know how we can help you with anything that you understood or didn't understand or that you think we ought to do better so we can improve next time. It's all about feedback, that DevOps thing, the agile, all those short little, and if you want us to do these little 5-minute, what are they called? These little 5 little snippets that they do on YouTube now. Well, we could do some of those too. Yeah.
TikToks. Oh, we get some TikToks. Is that what you want to hear?
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, the illustrious Nathan. Thank you so much, and thank you guys, because without you guys, we are not here. So we're here for you. Go join the Discord. Come talk to us. Let us know what you need and how we can help. All right. Thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on our first official YouTube thing.
Perfect outro. Perfect. Everybody
take care. Thank you. Bye. Thanks, Nate.